Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Biblical Prepping. I am Judith Garden. This is the prepper portion, and it was absolutely peaceful out here about a half an hour ago, and I didn't come outside quite then. Right now, one of the German Shepherds is barking in the background and whatnot, but I wanted to talk to you today about something before I take you on a tour of the 2026 vegetable garden. I saw an article the other day and I started to read it and I got really furious. If you're one of those people who's been complaining about not seeing a lot of fireflies around the last few years or a lot of bees, you will notice that they, they, although I have to say I've noticed a lot more bumblebees, and I even saw honeybees early this year. So they were out before I really started planting in the garden. That would have been around Mother's Day, shortly after Mother's Day, 2026. So here we are, July 16th, my apologies, 2026. And I am actually sitting out here under, see, my umbrella. I am enjoying the fresh air and the quiet and the relaxation out here. There is no breeze. It is going to be 85 to 87 today. So it is going to be toasty. But I'm here to talk to you because of they. You know the they. Trying to get there we go. The they. The they that are in quotations, air quotes. I've been wanting to start a series on biblical environmentalism. This is probably going to get me a lot of attention over time and a lot of grief because I'm going to touch on subjects like wind power. I'm also going to talk about solar power. But today I want to talk to you about two other things. So my first topic today is about where I come from when it comes to environmentalism. I do consider myself an environmentalist. The reason why I consider myself an environmentalist is because God commanded us to be stewards over this earth. It's ours. It is his great and gracious gift to us. So it is mine. I believe I need to care for it as best as I can. So I prefer organic gardening. Before I came out today, I did spray off on my hair and my head because we are in heavy duty gnat season and I do not like gnats and I don't like off. So I spray it away from any of my garden plants. I spray it up here on the deck, figuring one, it'll help keep me clear of the gnats in my hair and hopefully out of my eyes. And it also helps to keep some of the bugs away from this area. So where do I come from when it comes to environmentalism? It's actually kind of comical. I really started paying attention to environmental issues back in the 60s and 70s. I am a boomer. Jim and I were born toward the end of the boomer era. So we're one of the groups that's bringing up the rear. We're not the last year, but close enough. And so I grew up in the late 60s. Yes, I saw the moon landing, and yes, I believe it happened. So let's just put that aside. But growing up in and around Cleveland for a number of my years, Lake Erie, I remember, now I tried looking this up, but I remember a time when they closed the beach. And it was a very popular beach. I actually used to have a postcard of the beach back from like the postcard was from like the 40s. I have it somewhere in the house. And it was really neat because I remember that park and I remember my grandparents taking us when we were little kids. But I also remember when they stopped allowing you to swim in the lake because of the toxicity of Lake Erie. I had 2 out of 3 of my two out of four of my kids in and around Syracuse, New York. There's a lake up in Syracuse called Onondaga Lake. Beautiful lake. I used to love to rollerblade on the path that goes all along the one side of Onondaga Lake. At one point in time, it was closed because of the toxicity. There are a lot of areas that are toxic, hazardous, and whatnot throughout our country and throughout the world. If you look up things like microplastics and forever chemicals and things like that, you will find that those things are being found in remote locations where there's virtually no civilization or none. And yet they're still finding those things. That happens because the world is the world. Water evaporates. It goes up and it comes down. So it comes down wherever it comes down. So there's a lot of toxicity, but I believe that we can take care of the earth. Now, I had a disagreement during homeschooling. When I was homeschooling Justin and Jill, we were in New Jersey at the time, and it was in my first life, and comical. I got to turn a little bit so that we did get a breeze pickup, but I don't want the wind in the microphone. There we go. Now you're getting a picture of the prayer garden behind me and the veggie garden. Okay, so here we were out at one of the wetland areas going on a field trip with a bunch of other homeschool families. And we were hiking through the area. It was a brand new wetland area that had just been set aside by the state of New Jersey. I'm not going to tell you where it is because I'm going to tell you a story about some people, and they may not want people to know it was them. So anyway, we went to this wetlands area, and it was actually in the middle of an urban area, semi-urban area. It wasn't a rural location like where we live now. There were communities all around this wetlands, and they plopped it right in the middle there, bought this property, and they went about renovating the property with pathways and hiking areas and all this beautiful stuff. There was a pond, there was wildlife. It was really a neat place. I was looking forward to taking the kids there until we got there. As we're walking through, going on our hike, I see this area where they have literally clear cut. If you know Dr. Seuss's book, The Lorax, that machine comes in and just clear cuts. That is basically what they did in this area. And I looked at the naturalist and I said, what on earth did you do? Why did you clear cut that whole wooded section? They said they clear cut that area because there is a bird in that area, one type of bird, that nests on the ground. And they wanted to provide nesting area on the ground in the wetlands for this bird. Now, at the time, I happened to know a lady through church who had a farm that butted right up against this property that was purchased. She was behind on her taxes. She was no longer farming. She was elderly. She did not want to farm any longer. She had been trying to sell her property or lease it to other farmers. No one would buy it. No one wanted to lease because everything around it was being built up. A farm in the middle of an urban area may not always work successfully. So she found out the state was going to be buying that woodland property and turning it into a wetlands area. She contacted the state and she offered her property up to the state. So when she offered that property up to the state, all she wanted, no profit, no money necessarily, she just wanted the state to pay off her property taxes, which were behind, and to pay the closing costs. So she did not have any out-of-pocket costs. And that was all she wanted. She just asked them. She even begged them because essentially she wanted to donate the land, but she couldn't financially cover the cost of the behind taxes, the arrears, and the cost of closing costs. So that's all she wanted. And the state of New Jersey turned her down. They could have made that wetlands area so much bigger. They would never have had to clear cut an entire section of forest and displace forest wildlife for a bird when there was field literally on the other side of that wooded section. Just butted right up against that wooded section. They could have even made part of that field a wildflower area. She even suggested they put in an apiary, beehives. They could have a little gift shop where they sold their honey or honeycomb, beeswax, whatever products they could get from the apiary. Wow, think about it. They would pay for their own selves. They wouldn't need all the grant money that they had to apply for every year from the federal government. Instead, they could have been a self-sustaining facility. And they said no. And they brought in the Lorax and tore it down. And I asked, and I said, why would you do that when the lady on the other side of that woods wants to give you her property? And all she wants, oh my gosh, was I shut up and shut down. I was told I was not an environmentalist of any kind. Now, the funny thing is the woman who was leading us through the wetlands area, she was homeschool mom. I knew her. I'd known her for several years. We didn't talk much after that because she did not want to hear my suggestions. God gave us the position to be stewards over this earth. And I do not believe a government agency is always capable of doing the proper stewardship. And by clear cutting several acres of property to allow for a bird, one type of bird, to nest in the area. And from what I understood, for 5 years, there were no birds nesting in that area. Yet the section on the other side, until they built properties there like homes and a strip mall and whatever else ended up going up in that area, the birds continued to nest in the field. That's where they were used to until they built the homes and the strip mall and whatever else they built over there. So they. Sometimes I really wonder how much they know about the science. Thanks for stopping by. Blessings and shalom.